Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Tamron Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew, and that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose, from my heart to yours. And good morning. This is Dr. RG, yours truly. Welcome to the Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. Today is, believe it or not, September 2nd, 2020. This is the 76th episode of Courageous Conversations Connect Space, and this is our 24th week at this. Believe it or not. So welcome, crew. Good morning, China. I see you. Thank you for joining. Good morning, Larissa. Good morning to all of you in our IG family, as well as our YouTube family and our Facebook family. Do me a favor, make sure that you go on over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube page, Ask Dr. RG, AskDrArgie. Hit that notification bell, smash that thumbs up button. That helps with our algorithms. Also, tag a friend, share this video, let other people know, even if they can't come to us in real time at 10 o'clock, because I know the kids are back to school and you're back to work. And we started this over 6 months ago, back in March of 2020. So I understand that people can't necessarily come on in real time, but if you share the video with them or you let them know that we're on and make sure that you tag them, then they can enjoy what we are experiencing as well in our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. Good morning, Stephanie. Good to see you, Stephanie. Charlotte's on. Welcome, Charlotte. I see Mama Stokes. Nicole is on. Welcome. I see Tracy. Precious White. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Oh my goodness, we're going to have a great conversation today. So we are talking about this week, all week, a pathway forward. What is your pathway forward out of all this craziness, out of all this mess, right? How are we as the crew going to turn this mess into a message, be trusted messengers, if you will, and perhaps to, turn a little bit of this chaos into some power, right? We know that in order to have a testimony, you have to have a test. And boy, do we have a test going on these days, right? So we're talking about a pathway forward. And specifically today, we're talking about speaking truth to power. How are we going to do that? I feel like we need to unpack that quite a bit because now more than ever before, we see right in front of our very eyes a lot of fiction, not fact, right? So ask yourself when you're watching the TV or when you're having a conversation, is this fact or fiction? And we're also seeing a lot of darkness in the world, right? And so I'm asking us in our conversation to think about how we have shown up to speak truth to power, whatever that looks like. Y'all remember that movie, A Few Good Men, where they said, he can't handle the truth. Well, what is your truth? What is our truth? Is it just opinion or is it based in fact and reality? So we're going to unpack all that when we come back. I also want you all to think about who you're breathing with and for. As we come back and do our breathing exercises, you all know what we do. We get into our breathing exercises that sets the tempo. It sort of grounds us. It gets oxygen into our bodies and it allows us to sort of share in that good energy. So think about who you're breathing for and with. And we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors. We'll be right back. So stay with us. and welcome back. This is yours truly, Dr. RG, here for the Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up button for us, tag a friend, share this post, let people know that we are on this platform and our crew is ready to share, right? Our crew stands for connecting relationships for epic wins. So make sure that you share this page with other people and make sure that you tag a friend. And let's just begin with, who are you breathing for and with? So for me, this COVID-19, I don't even know. I really want to call it a vortex, right? This pandemic that we're in is stoking fear. It's creating a lot of anxiety and unrest, excuse me, for all of us. And we know that we're in September. September usually is a time of reflection and thinking about, how great the summer was, although we were challenged over the summer, right? It wasn't our everyday, ordinary, run-of-the-mill summer. And so we're usually thinking about how we did for the summer and how much fun we had. Maybe this is our last hurrah and people are thinking about going on their last vacation before Labor Day and then getting back into the thick of things, right? We know, though, that parents are challenged with this sending their kids back to school. We know that a lot of parents have struggled with this idea of whether they would send their kids back to college. And now they have sent their kids back to college and now colleges are shutting down. They sent their kids all the way back to wherever their college campuses were, only for them to sort of be stuck in their dorm rooms because everything is shutting down and everything is online. And then you have to wonder whether the kids actually are going to abide by some of the CDC guidelines and requirements in terms of social distancing and washing their hands and, wearing their mask and doing all the necessary things to keep themselves safe. Because children are young people, they're wired to hang out. So we've got that, but we also got the kids that are going back to daycare and going back to grade school. And we know that many of the teachers are parents themselves. So what I've understood is those teachers actually are having to go into the classroom just to do online teaching, long distance teaching. And so they're trying to figure out, well, what are they doing with their children? So I'm specifically breathing for and praying for, quite frankly, the parents and the young people that are challenged with going back to school in the midst of this online learning, this learning curve, and trying to stay safe in the midst of all of that. So that's who I'm breathing for and with today. Charlotte says she's breathing for our mental health. Whew. Yeah, we need that too, right? We need every bit of our mental health. And there's a new term out there called the long haulers. Those are people who have actually been impacted directly by COVID-19. They think that they have survived. They've gotten through it. They're now testing negative, but they're actually experiencing aftermath symptoms, brain fog, cognitive disability, depression, having heart palpitations. This virus is very, I feel like, it's a novel virus. So you don't know what's really going to happen until it, circulates through the population and you do the necessary studies to see where the trends are and what's really happening. And so this is a new community. As I said Monday, that Chris Cuomo talked about it. He's experiencing itself. Even hair loss people are experiencing, all after the fact. So I think that we need to be breathing for those persons who have been impacted, not only through family members that they've lost, but also family members that have survived it, that are still dealing with it. It's called the long haulers. And I do think that it affects our mental health when we're not the version of ourselves that we knew ourselves to be. It can impact our self-esteem. It can impact our mental health. It can cause depression and anxiety and even panic attacks, which, are the things that we don't really talk about as much, but our mental health matters. Our mental health sometimes is our wealth. And so we really need to think about that from the perspective of how do we manage all of that? So, all right, it's 10:10. Let's get into our posture. You know what we do. We are breathing. Y'all tell us, Charla and Stephanie. Charla already told us. Stephanie and Tracy and Mama Stokes, please let us know who you are breathing with, and China and Larissa, who you're breathing with and who you're breathing for. We're going to breathe in through our nose, hold it for 8 seconds, out through our mouths. We're breathing oxygen in. We're breathing carbon dioxide out. We're also breathing in peace and love and serenity and hope and calm. We're breathing out fear, worry, anxiety, resentment, unrest, anything that is going to cause you to not feel your best self. So put your middle finger to your thumb, or your one hand over the next on your lap, or your hands to your side. Relax your back if you can. Put your feet flat on the floor if you can, so that you're a little bit more relaxed, so that you can take it all in. And at the sound of my voice, I am going to count to 3, and we're going to begin. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. One last time. Breathe out. Make it count, crew. Breathe in. And out. Woo, that was hard for me because I'm getting over a cold and I'm still a little congested. So thank you for bearing with me. That was good. Continue to do that throughout the day if you can. Let's get into this conversation, crew, as it relates to speaking truth to power and a pathway forward. I want to hear your stories. And I want to start off by sharing a little bit of mine and what I sort of experienced. Y'all know that I continue to see clients, and usually around 12 o'clock, I shift gears and I start seeing clients. If you all are interested and know somebody else that's interested, please give us a call, 215-789-6999, or you can reach us at contactus@connectionsmatterllc.com. Give us a call. If we can't support you in some way, shape, or form, we will refer you to, resources that we have available, but we want to support.
You got that right.
This man that I get to call my husband and my business partner, he was giving me the thumbs up because, he always tells me in behind the scenes what I need to be doing to let people know what we are doing. And he's right about that. I'm not that great at that, right? That was not what I went to school for in terms of like sales and marketing. But the truth is that I believe in what we do. And Morgan believes in what we do. He wouldn't be here. We came together in years ago, right? So it's been 8 years in the making and 5 years marriage. Actually, December 28th, it'll be 6 years, believe it or not, that we've been married. And there was a vision that God planted in me, deposited in me, that I shared with Morgan many years ago when we first started dating. And he bought into the mission. And the mission was to heal families one relationship at a time and transform lives, individuals, couples, corporations, one courageous conversation at a time. That was the vision, and that we would take that transformative message of healing relationships global. And so that's part of what we're doing, even with this Courageous Conversations Connect space, this quarantine talks, right? And we want to help as many people as possible. That's why we asked you to share this post, this video, and tag a friend and let people know that we're on this platform. So when we think about speaking truth to power, and when we think about even the work that we need to do, it's work, right? So the story that I wanted to share with you is it was probably this week in one of my sessions. Of course, it's all confidential, so I can't share names. But in one of my sessions, I was working with a couple this week, and it was interesting because
there was a power differential in the relationship, and the spouse, the wife said to her husband, I wonder if you don't value me because when we came into this relationship, you had been married before and you make more money than me and you had owned a home before. And I wonder if you think that because you've done these things, therefore you have power over me and don't value what I bring to the table. And so we began a conversation about what it looked like to me, because it's my job to give them my assessment, which was that in some ways they were engaged in what looked like a parent-child relationship. Y'all know what a parent-child relationship is. You are the executive system, right? You're the executive subsystem, if you will. You are in control as a parent. You have power, not in a dictatorship, so to speak, but you got some power over these kids. You get to kind of set the tone and set the rules and, give the instruction and the requirements for what things are going to look like within your household. And those kids have to kind of follow those guidelines. Now, I do believe that rules without relationship equal rebellion, right? So think about that from the perspective of a parent. Rules without relationship equal rebellion. And so you got to build the relationship in order for someone to want to follow you. The question is, how are you leading if you do have children and if you are a parent? But in the other kinds of relationships where there's power, in this particular situation that I'm talking about, it's related to a couple. Is it a fair engagement when there's a power differential based on money or based on experience or based on, what that person feels gives them the upper edge, that gives them the leverage, if you will. And so when I was talking to the couple, I said, well, did you really come into this relationship in order to have power over each other? Because I want y'all to think about MLK. MLK, Martin Luther King, said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And he specifically talked about public servants. Public servants are people who actually are bought into the space, right? The center space in order to serve their constituents, the people that have put them in office. It's called public for a reason, and it's called servant for a reason. Yet we are sometimes in relationships, again, rules without relationships equal rebellion. Sometimes we're in relationships that will actually dump us out into a space where we get rebellion, where people actually will rebel from us, not draw closer to us because we're trying to set the rules in a dictatorship kind of relationship without really building the relationship. And so I wonder if you all can think about, have you ever been in a relationship, whether it be a personal relationship, whether it be a work relationship, whether it be a relationship in a macro system, in a larger system where there was a power differential that wasn't fair. In this world where we're talking about all of the racial unrest, all the crisis that we're in, the economic crisis that we're in, the educational crisis that we're in, the health crisis that we're in, the racial inequity crisis that we're in, right? In these crises that we're in, and the mental health, by the way, crisis that we're in, because the fallout of this COVID-19 mismanaged in the way that it's been managed is dumping us out with a mental health crisis that I don't think we're even prepared for. So we're in a state of emergency, and what we need is to build the relationships from the ground up, from the inside out, so that we can all work together. And when we have leaders at the top, right, that speak in language like they choked, gold figure, right? They choked. Speak in language that is provocative and is creating unrest and is stoking the fire or the flames, in essence, being a fire starter, then you're not really going to get kind of what you want out of it. And as I said to this couple in the session, I said, y'all have to think about what your end game is. What is it that you really want out of this relationship? How will you create a pathway forward and speak truth to power both are powerful forces in that relationship. And in order to get what you want, because most times we want love, we want attention, we want nurturance, we want care, we want somebody to care. I fundamentally believe, guys, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And so it's important. I want our crew to think about if you've ever been in a relationship or what's going on with you now where you feel like perhaps you're in an inequitable place where you are not being heard, where you're not being listened to, where there is a power differential over you. In essence, someone feels like they are better than you, or the person or the system feels like they have leverage over you to get what they want without actually seeing the value that you bring to the table. In the session that I had, the woman, the wife felt like, well, do I have any say so? Can I share anything in this relationship? It's supposed to be a relationship that will be of value if this is more like a dictatorship than a relationship. And I also ask people, you all as a part of our crew, to ask yourself, there's been a statement said that we're like, as we're up moving closer and closer, I think we're 60 something days from the election, November 3rd, that we're in a battle for the soul of this nation, right? And I thought about that statement because I think that there are battles that are being fought all over this nation, both in our microsystems and in our macro systems. And the question is, what battle are you fighting? And do you really want to be in a battleship, or do you want to be in a relationship? Because it's hard enough out there in the world when the world does not see your value, quite frankly, based on the color of your skin, whether you're black or brown, or your gender, or whether you're a child or whether you're a senior person. Even this conversation that we've been having about COVID-19 and its impact, it's impacting, quite frankly, the people who are having compromised immune systems. But it's not just that, right? That, think about it. Some of that has to do with lack of access to healthcare and to, food insecurities, to places and spaces where you can get proper health care and proper medical care and proper mental health care. Those are the situations that we find ourselves in, so that we're not in an equitable playing field, an even playing field where everybody has the right, quite frankly, to all of the things that their counterparts would have the rights to. We talked about last week, what are you fighting for, right? A couple weeks ago, where, what, why, and for who, and who is your fight for? If you are in a fight, since we are in a fight, we need to be kind of clear about that. And when I think about, guys, when we think about the concept of speaking truth to power, right? There's a couple people that I think remind us about what that looks like. People that actually have gone on. I think it's very interesting that sometimes people are much more effective, quite frankly, once they've transitioned. And I ask us to all think about the legacy that we are creating and the legacy that we'll be leaving. When we're having, yes, courageous conversations that connect, when we're having those conversations on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, are we building a legacy? So there's some people that help us with that. As you are thinking about your own true story, your own truth, when you've spoken truth to power, I ask you to sort of think about the people that have transitioned on. John Lewis, who just left us recently, and his statement about getting in good trouble, necessary trouble. When's the last time we got in good trouble? When's the last time we actually decided that we were going to rise up and that we were actually going to use our voice if we can? Because some people don't feel enough power within themselves to even use their voices within systems that really are oppressive. So they cower, or they stand back, or where they shut down, or they withdraw and they don't speak that truth to power. But John Lewis said, get in good trouble. That's what we're going to be doing when we engage in this voting process, right? The way in which we use our voice sometimes, many times, is to vote our conscience. You know, Morgan and I are talking about this every single day when we're on this platform, because we believe that this is the way in which we are utilizing our power. And if you don't use your power, even your power and your right to vote, then what are you saying to the people that shed their blood, sweat, and tears and died literally for the right for us to vote? Y'all know, know your history. Black and brown people didn't have the right to vote over 100 years ago, right? We weren't given the right to vote. Women were not given the right to vote. And that was less than 100 years ago. So, and this is what the women's suffrage movement was all about. And so getting in good trouble means speaking that truth to power. Think about that for a moment. Elijah Cummings stood up. He's a public servant and he passed away. And recently, in the last few days, Chadwick Boseman, no, he wasn't a public servant, so to speak. He was an actor that went to an HBCU, Howard University, and got a stipend to stay in school and continue to study his craft from Denzel Washington, who I believe is one of the greatest actors that's ever lived, right? And he was paying it forward by helping someone to follow their dreams. This is a person who ended up playing an essential role as a king, King T'Challa in Wakanda and Black Panther. And there was that phrase, Wakanda forever, right? Wakanda forever. And I thought about what Chadwick Boseman, you know, unfortunately dying way too soon, 43, and also appeared in films like Jackie Robinson, who was a Black man who dealt with a whole lot of racism, if you will, systemic racism. One of the first people to play in Major League Baseball. And he played James Brown, you know, in the arts, if you will. A lot of really iconic figures, if you will. And while he was playing someone in a film, I do believe that art imitates life. And I also believe that there are times when we have to determine for ourselves, where will we stand up? Can we stand up? Can we use our voice to speak truth to power? So I want to hear from our crew if there are times where you've had to be your own change agent. Are there times when, and are you in a time, quite frankly, now, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in the home, whether it be in your community, where you're having to bear witness to injustices, and you need to figure out how you will rise up and speak truth? You know, I was doing a little bit of research last night about just what it requires to speak truth to power, and why people take on such powerful roles. Why are people so power hungry? Have you ever thought about that? What is this whole power thing all about? And why do people tend not to want to give it up, right? Why is power so essential to people that they don't want to give it up? Whether they are a political official, whether they're a man, whether they're a white person, white privilege. And as soon as you start talking about it, then you start to experience white fragility. What is that about? Morgan always comes on when he feels like he's got something to share. So I'm interested, Morgan, in what your thoughts are about why people don't want to give up power, right? And why they will hold on to it to the bitter end as opposed to sharing the power. Babe?
Power controls the agenda. It allows you to set the narrative. And power is it's like a toxic it's like a drug. It's about control. That's really what it is, about control. And I always tried to share with you and you know, kind of talk to you about how powerful power is, you know, and how you can set the agenda and set your course and chart the course and manipulate and control others to do your bidding to get them to do what you want them to do. It's power and money. That's how this world is. That's how this country is. How this country was built. We are experiencing it right now. That's what politics is all about: power, control, and money. And so, if you don't understand how this game is played, you will absolutely be played. Now, power can be controlled. Power can be used in a positive way or in a negative way. But we know a lot of times most people will get drunk on power and it's used negatively.
It's called abusive power.
So it's no question about it. It's an abuse
Power.
of power. And that's what we're experiencing right now within our political, environment right now. The abuse of power and trying to hold on to it. And then once you've lived with power, had a taste of it, but then you consumed it for so many years, you're just not going to give up that power easily. So you have to understand it's by any means necessary to hang on and to maintain that power and control. It's like anything else. You say to me.
So why do people not want to admit it?
But take it very well. It's not. I don't. They're admitting it now. It's no more dog whistles. They're having bullhorns out there. I mean, so people are.
I'm talking about in general.
Okay, I think because it's power is connected to he or she is power hungry. It has a negative connotation to it if it's an abuse of power. And most people, and most times we're highlighting the abuse of power. We don't always highlight people who use their power in a very positive way. We highlight and emphasize the negatives. It's like anything else. Rumors typically fly around quickly and go viral on the negative, not so much the positive. It's like when they do an a op-ed piece, or they have a negative point in a newspaper or publication, and when they're found to be wrong on a fact check, they put the apology somewhere on the back of the newspaper down the bottom that nobody can see it, but they can technically say I gave the apology. It's like anything. It's that kind of stuff. We feed, unfortunately, society and human nature. We like watching the train wreck. It's like when you have a car accident on the road, everything slows. Even though there's lanes that it can get by, the lanes slow down because people rubberneck and look at the train wreck, look at the car wreck. That's the nature of the beast. So, it's just like a moth to a flame. It's hard not to be attracted to that. But those who can manage that better always can seem to come out better. It's a tough situation in terms of the human nature. We definitely get caught up in fear. What do you say? Fight, flight, freeze. I cut you off. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I think there's a lot of fear going on, but I also think that's why people tend not to speak truth to power, because they fear retaliation. They fear that person will use power. I was doing, like I said, some research, and some of the research I talked about. I talked about legitimate power, like, if you're a leader, if you're really a servant leader, if you actually are a parent, but then there's coercive power where you're actually a bully trying to coerce someone. And then there's power based on reward, so that you can either reward or withhold. And then power based on information.
Can I just stick a pen right there? You hit the nail on. Our society rewards power.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand there's currency, there's value in power.
Mm-hmm.
We pump up and laud our heroes, the fierce fighter for our cause, the one that can stick out front and be the stalwart and go out and lead and be the point person and exert power. That's what it's about,
Right.
And so we value power. Strength, strength and power.
I think power can be used for good or evil. I said, I think that power can be used for good or evil, light or darkness, right? Advancement or regression. There's, it's two sides to the same coin.
But a lot of people, power can be manipulative, and you can be deceived, and it could be, cloaked in the cover of goodness when really it's very dark forces behind that.
That's why people have to.
and you have to. Well, it takes work to. Well, no question about it. You have to think. You have to be pragmatic about it, and be discerning.
Well, it's
And
also just it's just like a relationship though, right? Chris Rock, I think it was said, that years ago that uh anybody can deal with somebody's representative for a little bit, but the representative can't stick around forever.
Mhm.
And so when you enter into a relationship, you could potentially be deceived by this person's presentation. And then when you actually spend some more time, you realize that this person is either trying to control you or, have power, or this person is abusive in multiple ways. And the abuse starts out with maybe emotional or verbal and then can move into physical or sexual. So, there are ways that people are, I think, use abusive power as a way to gain control, power and control, if you
Well,
will.
we are complex people. We are complex people. Each person's complex, and we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we live by that and operate in that realm. So we have to, in any relationship, marriage is whatever case may be. You take the good with the bad, and what you try to do is make a decision on, hey, the negatives about this person, are they disruptive to me to a point where it vexes my soul? Does it not align with my principles and morals, my non-negotiables? And you try to, kind of weigh that out. You
Yeah,
follow
core
me?
values, the
Again,
core
nobody's
values.
perfect. But the same thing applies to, for example, political decisions.
Sure.
No politician is perfect because they're human, they're a person, and no person and human is perfect. So you have to weigh out, based on your political beliefs, are they in alignment with your core principles and values?
Mm-hmm.
And you vote according to that,
Mm-hmm.
and make that decision. There's momentum shifting in the political environment, and that political shift, it's the sea change. It's happening. You can't stop it. What they're trying to do is mitigate it, so so they don't lose as much power, if you will. And key phrase people always say: how do we all get along and be able to all play in the same sandbox?
Mm-hmm.
That is the paradox for us. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
that is a paradox. And how do the other paradox is, how do we stay true to capitalism, but also having that getting drunk on money and finance, and it ruins us and becomes a toxin to us, to our spirit and our soul, and we start making horrible, wrong, bad decisions just for quote unquote almighty dollar.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of people get caught up in and get drunk behind. It's that power. That power it's a powerful drug. It is a drug, nonetheless, and many have fallen and become victims to it, and you get in trouble because it can't last long. It may last for a while, but at some point, as they say, chickens come home to roost, and we all reap what we sow. It's just karma. You cannot escape it. The universe and the laws are they never lose. The universal laws are true. It is what it is. Defeated. So we have to deal with that. Let's see. We have some comments going on. Let's see.
So Angelique says, such is my whole life as a healthcare worker, serving people who have so little opportunity and have mistreated their whole lives. Angelique is a nurse,
Mhm.
and so she works in the community where lots of people are mistreated, and so she sees the impact of that in terms of their health or what have you. Jen says, my coworkers talk about politics where it comes to arguing and cussing up a storm. People are allowed to voice their opinion. I just stay out of it, and with steam coming out of my head, and we just need to vote because our life depends on it. Absolutely. Michelle, good morning. She says power can be driven by fear or ego and can be used as a false identity. That's just what you were saying, Morgan.
Mhm.
And absolutely, and straight up facts for that, Morgan, is what Jen says.
Mhm.
And so, you know, when we think, I guess part of why I really wanted to talk about this is because I do believe that what happens is what Jen is talking about is that you'll in these spaces and places where people are speaking their opinion and they have such drastic variances of opinion or polar opposite opinions of things. And then you wonder, like, where is the fact in that, right? That's why on the news they have the fact checkers. And,
And what's that coin that Kellyanne phrase? Alternative facts.
or alternative facts, right?
Alternative facts are just facts that you pull out of thin air to basically bolster what you want to believe.
What you want to believe, because
You
it's
know,
all
and
socially
so
constructed based on
you're
your opinion.
not objective. You're subjective. It's always a subject from a subjective point of view, and
Right.
spinning the narrative to fit your agenda. Everybody has an agenda. Let's be clear, and I say that to you all the time. Everybody has an agenda.
Right.
You just have to fight for your agenda to get your voice heard, or to swing it to where it moves in direction of your favor. You know, that's how it works. You know, that's what the whole term debate or arguing your point is about: convincing the other side to believe in what you want to believe. You know,
Maybe you can find common ground though, and that's kind of what I
well,
do
correct. Well,
pretty much all day, every day when I'm doing therapy, is having people to find some common ground on
correct.
where can we agree and how can we build from there, versus these polar opposite positions that people have where they end up at an impasse. And you know what happens at an impasse? There's no bridging the gap. So people just kind of fall through the cracks, if you will.
But see, what's happening in the environment now is we're living with the tension of people are so polarized that they don't start from a position or foundation of human decency, and that you have a right to believe in what you want to believe, and that right does not cancel you or does not cancel your humanity.
Mm-hmm.
People are, I mean, they gotten to such a place. Well, the value of human life and your existence or your ability to live freely the way you want to live or think, it's just like, okay, it's either it's no way to balance it out. It's always black and white. Either you believe what I believe or you're dead.
Well, there's
It's
right.
like,
Believe or I believe or you're dead, right? Yeah. Cancel culture.
that describes the cancel culture. That's what the whole term of cancel culture is all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, you have no room for flexibility. You have no room for tolerance for people who have different thoughts and different, or thinking about leading their way of life. And so I don't know. Can anybody hear all that? Sorry, I got the long guy in the back here. He's on my side of the house. I don't know if you guys can hear all that background. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's a real struggle, and it's in that fear. So power and fear kind of work hand in hand. There's a large segment of society that's fearful of losing power and control. So when you're in fear, what do we say? Fight, flight, or freeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most people who are in leadership and hold power are going to fight for it. Very few are going to flight and run, and very few are going to freeze. Most people are going to fight for it. It's just, the key thing is, one of the things they talk about is, one of the things that sets America apart is the transfer of power, the peaceful transfer of power. That's always a major benchmark for democracies, and not kingdoms, if you will, and so forth. And that sets us apart. Listen,
Was it Belarus? The guy said, the dictator said,
you got to
I'm
kill
going
me.
to always
Yeah.
be in power, or you'll just kill me.
Well, but see, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what is fundamentally being challenged right here in America right now. You have to understand what's afoot. they're trying to challenge our very democracy. So I don't want to, I know we're talking about relationships and everything else today, so I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. We kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I think that conversation is important, because it is a relationship. It's a relationship with, leadership and the public, but the public and democracy has a chance to decide on who they want to be led by, and what we have to clearly understand, if our leadership of choice are not representing us well and doing what we asked them to do when we made our selection to go into office, we have a system, you have a dictatorship, a system to bounce them the heck out of there. And that's part of the problem, is that we truly don't exercise, the masses as a whole, we really don't exercise our voting right effectively, and so people in power will find ways to manipulate the system and structure if we allow it to be. And no different than a relationship. You talk about the power dynamic control, and I think you were talking about how, in this one of your sessions, you were saying that, she wanted to know, I believe, what was the question? That she said, well, the person had the home, or they bought the home, and
she wanted to know,
makes her feel less than, or something like that.
She felt less than because her husband had owned a home, had more money, and had been married before. And she wondered if that then meant that she had no say-so, because from his perspective, he knew more. And so therefore, since he knew more based on experience, then he should be able to have complete control, at least over the things that he knew more. So therefore, when they bought the house, it was his say with buying the house. He controls the money. In terms of the marriage, he gets the say. And so her position was, well, just because you've had these experiences, does that mean that your way is always right? Or is there any room for conversation around things, my lived and shared experiences, and the things I'd like to add to our marriage with regards to what I think might be helpful? Is there room for the conversation? And is there room for some level of collaboration? Or is this just about dictatorship, not collaboration, right? Is there any room for compromise so that we can co-create together versus it's your way or the highway? That's what the conversation was all about in that dyad. But I would submit to our crew that that's not just about a dyad. It's about larger systems where you have multiple people coming into the mix around all of these crises that we're experiencing. And if you only have one mindset, then you're in trouble, because I believe that that mindset may be leading you down a path that doesn't have your best interest at heart.
Term. Question. Well, it's like a question statement, kind of a term, if you will. I'm gonna go there.
And Karen has something to say too.
I'm gonna go there. Submitting to leadership. Now, we all have to submit to some type of leadership. Can we at least lay that down as a foundation? Would you agree with that statement, that we all have to submit to leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to give you context for that. So absolutely, I believe in submission to leadership, but I also believe that if headship is right, submission is easier. So I just want to say that part of it. But absolutely, each party has to submit to leadership.
Hello.
So yeah.
Hello. I just wanted to ask a question and have a simple answer to that question. Do we agree that we all, every person, no matter the gender, has to submit to leadership? I'm asking this question. I mean, is that yes or no?
You're asking me, do I? You say we.
Well, this is for everybody. So everybody here. The question is, do we all have to submit to leadership? Do we agree to that?
Sure. And that was the conversation that was part of the conversation that I was talking about, because really even both of those parties said that they had to submit to a level of leadership. I mean, leadership is important, but
Correct.
you want to make sure that it's the right leadership, right? Right? And
Correct. Correct.
that
Well,
leader
that's
has the whole system best interest at heart. But leadership is absolutely
That's
important.
there you go. There you go. Okay. All right. You didn't give me the lane to finish it, but you said what I was what I was getting to. The part was I was getting to was that everybody had to submit to leadership, and I think sometimes people get caught up in all that, and not
Yeah.
face that reality. The key thing is, are you following the right person? Are you
Right.
submitting to leadership that you understand that fundamentally, from a foundational standpoint, that leader has your best interest at heart. So even if you may, for example, argue your point, express your point of view, all that, you have the leader is open to hearing differences of opinions. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying you personally, I'm saying, but overall, the question is, are you then going to trust your leader that if they make a decision that's different than what you think, will you be okay with that?
Well, yeah, I think that that's where the discourse, that's where the conversation has to go, right? And
Right.
at some point, that's the purpose of a leader, to hear the various opinions, right? And if we go to talking about the president, the leader of the free world, he or she cannot lead by themselves. They need to have lots of information and other opinions coming into play for them to ultimately make their decision. And that just is what it is. And so I ask people to think about, well, what is the reason for even the status quo? And then what type of power are you really challenging? Are you challenging a leader who is actually open to their various opinions, or are you challenging a status quo leader who is not open? Because that's going to determine the fallout, quite frankly, and what the consequences are.
Let's leave. We have some comments here. Karen is saying, what do you say? What's Karen saying? An ex once told me that I have all the power because of my self-control and discipline being celibate. That became the regular topic of conversations, him not being able to have me sexually. He felt that just taking me out and spending some money gave him entitlement to the milk without committing to buying the cow. I told him there's a name for that, and there are places where he can go to get those transactions. Yeah, I mean, it's about your principles and what you're willing to accept and not accept, and you gotta lay them down. And if the person doesn't align with that, got to keep it moving. It is what it is. What else does Karen say? So I think there are a lot of males who look for a woman who does not have much so they can be in control and manipulate the relationship. Absolutely correct. There's all types of relationships. Some people choose people based on what their comfort levels are in terms of what they want to do. But to me, this is just me. You can call me the modern man, whatever. I'm good. I feel as I'm a leader. Now, I'm not saying anything different than what RG believes in. We've had these conversations, these courageous conversations all early on up front, and we sometimes continue to have them as we grow and move forward in our marriage. But she understands I'm the leader, but she's not a person that I do not allow a voice. And quite frankly, I take her opinions and suggestions often. Most times. She's smart. She's intelligent. I know she loves me with every fiber of her body, and she knows I love her. So I don't have any questions for me that if there's a decision to be made in our family, that I'm not going to seek my wife's wise counsel and ask her questions about this or that. And I mean, there's times where, I feel very strongly about something, but she trusts me as a husband to make good decisions. And it is what it is. And we play or operate in our marriage to our strengths, whatever that may be. And so there's no set roles for a man or set role for a woman and all that stuff like that. Listen, get out of that. A good leader will take wise counsel. A good leader will consider all the thoughts, from people
I think a leader is a
around
servant.
him, because you bring people Well, right, correct. And
A
you
leader
bring
is a
people
servant.
around
Yeah,
you
that's why they call it a
who
servant
can
leader.
think, right, correct, and that can
They're
think
not trying to
well and
control,
bring
be
good
the
ideas
dictator.
to the table. Correct. So what else is what else the crew was talking about? What's happening here? Charlotte says what? You want me to read it or you read it?
Couples should be able to work together no matter how each other experiences, or no matter of each other's experiences, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right. It has to be the right leadership,
Correct. Right
and
leadership.
that's
Correct.
kind of debatable how whether it's the right leadership depending on what the system is, because you have to think about like who your audience is. You can't be broke and tell me how to invest my money. Well, that's the point, right? That's the point, that leaders show themselves approved. You're not going to allow somebody to lead you in a level of investment and they are horrible with finances. And quite frankly,
No
when you're
question.
in a leadership position, that leadership position should tell you that other people know better than you in some areas and that you're weighing their expertise, and it's a good position to take to say, we're going to go with that because you got that experience in that area. So Shelly's question is, so in this example, is her husband her leader? Shelly, if you're talking about, are you talking about the couple that I was
Yeah, I think
referring
that she's
to?
talking about the couple. Yes.
I think they both agreed that the husband is the leader within that family system. But I think where they disagree is that the wife actually wants to weigh in, but
Correct.
weigh in on their family system, and that she has some valuable things to offer. Interestingly enough, and we've only got 3 minutes left, but I had another couple where it's the exact opposite, where the husband feels like he wants to lead, but the wife actually makes more money. And because she makes more money, and because the husband hasn't made some of the best decisions with regards to money, he feels like he has no room to lead. So his question is, well, I made these mistakes. I'm willing to work on those mistakes. Is there a place for me to begin to assert some of my opinions or my thoughts about how things should go with regards to our household? So I think money has a huge part to do with that. And I think belief system has a huge part to do with that. And what I would say is that why would you be in a partnership if you're talking about a marriage or some level of coupling? Why would you be in the partnership if you have no desire to hear anything that the person has to offer with regards to how you live your lives? That
Well, I
makes
think
no
that,
sense,
well, what you have is you have the
male or
tension
female.
between you have the tension between traditional roles in marriage and the new realities of what our society is living in. You have situations where you have guys who worked in corporate America or had very good jobs making good money. And we know what has happened over the last 10, 15 years in corporate America. People have been devastated and wiped out and cannot get back on track. We have many of clients in that situation, right? And so now you have a situation where dynamic where he made more money or the most of the money in the families, whatever. And then you have a situation where all of a sudden that's flipped on his head, and now she's bringing in the bigger nut, and now he's having to operate with less money. So sometimes that people get caught up, their egos get caught up in that dynamic, and it changes the whole. It's a paradigm shift, if you will, and within the household, you know. And some people fare well with that kind of a flip and switch, and some people don't. I think again back to power and control. Some people get drunk on power and don't understand. Listen, there's no marriage that's 50-50 all the time. The reality is, if a marriage lasts long enough, there will be times in a marriage where he's calling the shots and sometimes maybe bringing most of the paycheck home, and then there may be time where shift happens, shift happens, and next thing she may be the breadwinner for a period of time, and in that shift, in that tension, some marriages are able to weather that storm and get past it while the shift happens and are able to come out on the positive side. And some marriages absolutely fail and go into it.
I think you gotta keep talking. I mean,
Well,
there's actually
right.
a chapter
Connections matter, communication,
chapter in the book that talks about, it's right in this, when we're talking about transitions, that talks about what happens if the roles change because the money changes, right? And that's
right.
what you're talking about. And so maybe, and all of our roles have changed because of COVID, right? You know, with people working from home and there's lots of challenges or what have you. So you got to keep talking, because if you start getting resentful because in your mind, your mindset has told you that the money has mattered so much that if you're not making it, then that actually has made you who you are, then you sort of sabotaging, because the purpose of the partnership is to bring your resources together. It's very interesting, Morgan. I don't think that people even think about the actual words that many people, and I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm just talking about for us, the words that we said when we actually got married was for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health,
Right.
till death do us part. And I think people gloss over that, but and not understand what that means when people say for better or for worse, or for richer or for poorer, or in sickness or in health. I think that those words matter because it's swinging the pendulum from the extreme good to the extreme bad, and it's basically saying, are you in it to win it no matter what? Like, now, notice that those words don't say, well, if you go down the path and I beat your ass, you should stay. It doesn't say that, right? It doesn't say that I'm going to be your abuser and you should stay in the relationship, because some people take it out of context. Excuse me for using profanity.
No, that's okay. People are on this. This is real. This is right. Real. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think people take it out of context and say it said for better or for worse. No, it didn't say if I'm your abuser, you should stay with me. But it does say if something happens in the world and you're now paralyzed, or something happens in the world and you're now broke, or something happens in the world and the world is turned upside down. By the way, that's happening now, right? The world is turned upside down due to 2 pandemics. Are you in it to win it? Because the extent of a healthy relationship is not how well we do when things are good. It's how well we do when shit hits the fan and things are not so good. Can we keep talking? Can we stay connected? Right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just on my little soapbox about that.
Yeah,
I think that people do have a cancel culture, and if it's not good, then you're out. Or if we have some hard times, then we don't work it out.
Let me in,
Whoa.
coach.
And we're at 11:03.
It's okay, but see, right now, this is a hot situation. You got to go with the flow sometimes. This is turned up.
All right.
There is a book.
See what people say
before our next thing. Anyway, here's the deal. Let's go with. Let me just share this with you guys. There's a book that I would recommend. It's written in the context of manhood, but I would really challenge a lot of women to check this book out. It's written by my pastor, Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, The Righteous Warrior. Get this book, women, for whoever the man is in your life. It talks about so many paradigms that you'll get both books. If you haven't gotten the Courageous Conversation Connect, and also get The Righteous Warrior. These books I think are actually fundamental pieces of literature that can be consumed and will really set the playing field and help guide you in any relationship, not just the marriage or couples, whatever, but a whole slew of relationship stuff. But what The Righteous Warrior talks about is the traditional way and the modern reality of what a lot of people in their marriage or relationships dealing with, which is around economics, traditional leadership roles, men dealing with their egos, about how they identify themselves. How do I see myself? I'm the breadwinner. I'm smacking it down. I'm rolling. I'm grinding. I'm making it happen. And then the rug gets snatched from underneath them in corporate America. Now they're sitting there broke, busted. They've identified themselves based on their jobs. Now the wife got to help pick up the slack. You hope that, you know, you didn't have a traditional situation, and she has a good job too, so she can hold the fort down for a minute, you know. But then now the man struggling with his ego, and then sometimes some people can't understand the shift and what happened. It's just rife with landmines that can actually decimate and destroy a marriage or relationship. You gotta have those communications, have those courageous conversations, those tough conversations. But that book, The Righteous Warrior, talks about that. There's chapters, and there's content in that book that speaks just to this modern situation of roles changing out of the traditional roles, and men and relationships and wives who are struggling, because it's not always, you know, a man may be okay in trying to go through the process, but then the wife, we've seen, you and I can attest this, Arch, where she's like, you know, what's all this about? You know, get your ass out there and bust, you know, and killing the dude and cutting his, excuse my friend, cutting his cut them off,
babe.
put them off, put them in a blender, and make them suck out that blender with a straw. Okay, so we can know the abuse happens, but I'm just saying, I'm just giving context, the balance to the situation. We're not saying everybody has that way. We're just saying there's a plethora of landmines and issues that come out of our environment and our society and our culture and what we're dealing with. It's just reality. Okay, it's just reality. And you know, listen, it's, you know, for me, you got to understand that I know where my strength is in our marriage, and you know where your strength is, and we definitely operate in that area. I'll tell everybody, I got holes in my pocket. If it wasn't for this one, okay, I got holes in my pocket. Okay. The wifely controls the purse strings up in this piece, and I'm good, and I understand it, and it don't lessen my manhood to admit to that and understand that. Okay, it doesn't mean I don't have a choice. I have or a voice. I could have a voice and say, and I control a lot of other things in our marriage, in our relationship, and she's good with that. And she understands that power dynamic. You know, how do you share the power?
We
And
do
I
what
understand
we're
if she's
good at.
better with the money, we are better overall in the marriage and the direction of how our marriage is going to move forward. It doesn't lessen my leadership because she's better with the money than I am. You know, to me, if you're a dude, you operate like that, you're a punk, you're a chump, you're a poor leader. I've said it, and I ain't scared to say it. I say it to your face, okay? If your manhood is, and your ego is that fragile that you can't be a good enough leader to understand, you know what, my wife handles the money in the pockets better than I, and let it go, and let her handle that, I don't know, you're a poor leader. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it, and I ain't afraid to say it, you know, proudly. It is what it is. But she understands where I lead better in this relationship, and where I take the point at, you know. So it is what it is, you know. And
I think it'd be exhausting in a relationship if somebody's leading in everything and you're not sharing the space to do the things that you're actually good at. So you want to read some of the comments?
Okay, all right, we can read some. Let's see what's going on here. You guys chiming in, boy. I don't know. We touched the nerve today. We touched the nerve. All right, let's see it. Let's go back up. Let's see. Okay. Kimberly Harry says, great conversation. Okay, cool. No problem, Kimberly. Thank you very much. Cynthia says the husband is always the leader.
Well, I kind of want to challenge that a little bit. I think that the husband who's leading you is not a good leader. And so therefore, no, it's not the husband is always a leader. It's that, as you know, my first lady says, Sister Waller, submission is easy if headship is right. But if you're a husband that is leading poorly, making bad decisions, then be prayerful about that, because you don't want to be led into a ditch and the whole family is in destruction because you had that title and then you misused it and abused it. So I don't really support that unless you're leading well.
All right, let's see what else.
Leading well and leading with love.
Let's see. Paulette Handy says money shouldn't dictate change in a godly household.
Agreed.
I agree. I agree. What else here? Rochelle Hines says, never should have been 50-50. Should have always been 100-100. When shift happens, the change won't be evident if you already giving your all. Very
Gotcha.
good. Very good. Everybody's bringing 100%. I agree with that. Let's see. Kimberly Harry also says, what you say? Please keep
it real.
real. Okay. What else? Kim, please don't sugarcoat. Yes, say it the way it is, Artie. It's okay.
It is a morning show though.
Listen. All right, we'll talk offline about that. But anyway, it's okay, RG.
Great conversation.
Okay.
Jen said, don't forget about the prayer line tonight. She put it in the chat a little bit earlier. So if you all are interested in her prayer line,
okay.
I'm working all night. I see clients until 9 to almost 10 o'clock at night. So I'm never able to do that, but please continue to keep us in your prayers.
Okay. Let's see what else is going on here. Out loud. Let's see. So, Dr. RG, I appreciate
you guys so much.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Laugh out loud. Laugh out loud.
What else, Susie?
Yeah, Morgan needs to wash his mouth out with soap. Absolutely.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Come on. Come on.
I'm not.
It's okay.
All right.
Morgan. I'm preaching. I didn't take up an offering. You pass the plate.
Supposed to be a balance. Amen, Dr. RG. Depends on the couple. Jenna's got the number there for her prayer line. And then love you guys. Appreciate your transparency.
Yeah, got it.
Love
Listen,
you
guys, we've had a great conversation. It's been impactful, I think. I hope it's been impactful, enlightening. I think we'll have more conversation like this because, there's two sides to the coin, there's differences of opinion, and there's multiple ways to get at a common point, multiple ways to get there. And, these are courageous conversations that RG and I had from day one. I always say our first date, okay? We had such a powerful, I called it magical at first, but then I realized, this was spiritual. And I'm telling you, this is and this is ongoing. I never thought, okay, we had the conversation, now it's over, we're going to live our lives exactly that way from here on out. No, it's evolving. It's a continuum. It's a continuum. And we all evolve, we all grow. Change is always happening. Our cells change over. I don't know what the statistical terms or the scientific terms are, but we're growing and growing new skin. We're growing new things, and we have, as a species, always are evolving. And if we don't understand that, you will be left behind. You'll be left behind. We no longer ride horses and buggies as our major mode of transportation. Became the combustion engine, and we got a car. We no longer rely on the Pony Express to deliver our mail. Okay, there's new mail systems, and now that's even being challenged with technology and so forth. I mean, everything is always evolving, and if you're not open to evolving, your relationship will tend to be stagnant and just might die on the vine. And part of it is having those courageous conversations and understanding that if you trust your partner, that they are always operating out of love and with your best interest and the family's best interest at heart, that's where the foundation should come from.
It will.
Good. There you go. No question about it. Mm-hmm. And for me and my wife, I clearly understand that, and something, she always said this too early on. I kind of felt it, knew it. I didn't have an actual term for it. She says, like is underrated. We put more emphasis on love. Love is no question. You love people, but like is where you really have the staying power. Like is really the tactical component to making a relationship work. Because if I like you, I'm tending to want to work. Love it's an obligatory thing. You can't choose your parents, you can't choose your siblings, but you can choose to like a person. You can choose to like a person. And that like, to me, defines a lot. Because if I like you, I'm working hard. I'm putting the work in. I'm doing what it takes. If it's sacrifice, if it's whatever, So anyway, I know I'm on my soapbox now, but But I just really relationship. I tell people all the time, it's a choice you make. You know, and I say this because it just resonates with me. Do you want to operate being stuck on stupid? And what I mean by that, how you apply it, is do I want to not or continue down a path that is not working for the relationship and the couple as a whole, or do I want to open myself up to some vulnerability, have those courageous conversations with my partner, and trying to understand her point of view, even though initially I may not always agree with it. But do I love her enough? Do I like her enough? Do I care about her enough to want to make myself vulnerable, open myself up to that? You know? And listen, it's a practice. It's not something that's just automatic. It ain't easy, because a man has ego, a man has testosterone, and a man is born to be out front. We're hunters and gatherers. You know, we are leaders by nature. You know, so you know you gotta, in order to balance that and to manage that, it takes a lot of maturity to do that. You know. So anyway, sorry guys. She allowed me to be on my soapbox.
Wrap it up, babe.
See, you did good job, babe. Good job. It's all good. Anyway, we love y'all.
I can't with him.
Yes, you can.
I love my husband.
Oh,
Are doing our very best. So everybody says they love you, Morgan. Morgan goes on his rant. Y'all just saw that, right? I always have you two in prayer. Thank you. My pastor asked for you. I told her, thank God for my family. Awesome. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
All right, you guys we love you, as you know. There's nothing that you can do about it.
Off the screen here. Hold on a second. I'm producing as we go.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so we love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Make sure that you have a beautiful day on purpose, from our heart to yours, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care now. Bye-bye.